Everybody. Gonna do this about some information real quick and brief about fasting. Let me go ahead and I gotta change some stuff real quick on here. You know, this was supposed to be Barakatha Yahweh, Allahayanawa, Malaka Iwalam, Yahweh Allah Shadia, Yahweh Allah Aliyawan, Allahaya Yasha Allah. Bless you, Yahweh, King of eternity, Yahweh our power, Almighty God, Most High God, the God of Israel. It's just going to be a quick video, just going into some things about fasting. Just real quick. Holy doctrines of fasting. These are doctrines that the Bible teaches us about what to do when we fast and how to fast and things of that nature. All right. So the first thing I want to read is Matthew 6:16. Moreover, when you fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their face, that they may appear unto men to fast. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou fastest, anoint thine head and wash thy face. So when you fast, make sure that you look clean, that you look neat, that your face is greased, your hair is looking right, and that your face is clean, your hair is oiled, not looking like you in distress or you in pain and that you're fasting. And everybody can look at you and tell that you're fasting. So Yahweh said that the hypocrites do that. So when we fast, we have to look like we're not fasting. So this is about fasting for holiness, for faith, and for wisdom. Faith, because without faith it's impossible to please Yahweh. Holiness, because Yahweh said that we are a holy people, and He wants us to be holy unto Him. And then wisdom, because wisdom is the stability of our times. Wisdom is the worker of all things. So we have to know how to operate and walk in wisdom. So the first thing we want to talk about fasting is make sure that you have oil on your face and that your face is clean. You're looking clean. You're not looking like you're going through a hard situation. All right. Now the second thing I want to read about fasting is going to be in 2 Maccabees chapter 13, verse 12. So, when they had done all this together and besought the merciful Lord Yahweh with weeping and fasting and lying flat upon the ground 3 days long, Judas exhorted them, commanded they should be in readiness. So we want to see how when they were fasting, it was a weeping associated with it because they were sorrowful. They were sad about the condition of their people and about their own selves, the things that they had done wrong and how the Most High had been showing judgment upon our people. So we fasted for the Most High to hear us. So when we fasted, we were weeping and we were sad. It wasn't like a joyous event. All right? So even though you're not looking all beat down and depressed, but you're also not looking like you just came from a comedy show. Okay? So you want to fast, and you want to, when you're in private, weep, cry, pour your spirit out to the Most High. And also lying flat on the ground. This is a high level position of praying to the Most High with your face flat on the ground. You laying with your face flat. Now, they did this for 3 days. So 3 days is a good number to get the Most High's attention when we fasting, especially if it's a partial fast, where you may just be drinking water during the daytime, or you may just be drinking water for a 24-hour period, okay? Now, from there, so when you're fasting, you want to at some point lay flat to the Most High. You want to lay flat out, to the Most High. And you want to humble yourself before Him, when you're fasting. You want to lay flat out to Yahweh, lay on your belly, have your arms out like this with your face to the ground, praying to Him and asking Him for mercy, asking Him for forgiveness, asking Him to increase your faith, to increase your holiness to Him, and also ask Him to increase your wisdom. So that's the other point we want to bring out about fasting. Next, we want to talk about fasting and how to make sure your fasting is effective. Ecclesiasticus chapter 34, verse 25 and 26. He that washeth himself after the touching of a dead body, if he touch it again, what availeth his washing? So when you touch a dead body, you're supposed to wash yourself in water, and you set apart for 7 days. So you go through a process where you're purified from touching that dead body. And it included some things that we can't do now, such as taking water that had been mingled with the ashes of a red heifer. So we don't have that red heifer now. And then you would take a hyssop branch with the leaves and stuff on it, and you would sprinkle that onto the person, twice after they had touched a dead body or been to a funeral. So with this right here, what we see is the fact that if you wash yourself and cleanse yourself and purify yourself according to the prescribed measures in the Bible, and then you go back and touch a dead body again, then you wash yourself and went through that whole process for nothing. So let's look at the comparison that the Most High gives in the next verse. So is it with a man that fasteth for his sins. So you fast for the Most High to forgive you for your sins, and goeth again and doeth the same. Who will hear his prayer? Or what doth his humbling profit him? Meaning, who will hear your prayer when you fast and you go back and you sin again? The Most High is saying that He's not going to hear that prayer, and that's who we want to hear our prayer. So it's saying you're not going to be heard when you fast and then you go back and you do sin. So that also shows us that when you fast, you do get atonement, you do get forgiveness, you do get reprieve from your sin and possibly from judgments that were supposed to come on you. So that's another thing we're going to bring out about fasting. When you fast, be focused to not go back into sin, whether it's lust, whether it's gluttony, whether it's addiction issues, whether it's just not fasting and not praying, whether it's not reading your scriptures. You want to change your behavior and ask Yahweh to change your behavior. During your fast and after your fasting, you want to see fruits. You don't want to keep going back to the same wickedness, the same things that are causing you problems. All right? Now when we go into the book of Luke chapter 33, Luke chapter 5, verse 33 to 35, it says this. And they said unto him, why do the disciples of John fast often and make prayers? And likewise the disciples of the Pharisees. But thine eat and drink. And he said unto them, can you make the children of the bride chamber fast while the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken away from them, and they shall fast in those days. Now, what does that mean? What that means is Yahushua is like the bridegroom, and we are the children of the bride chamber. So we're helping, and his disciples were helping. His disciples were doing his ministry, doing his work with him. So they were rejoicing. They had nothing to be sad about. The teacher from Yahweh had been sent down. But now the disciples of John and the Pharisees, they would fast, and they had certain prayers that they sent up. They would refrain from food. But when Yahushua was teaching his disciples, they didn't refrain from food. They kept eating food, and they didn't fast because Yahushua was with them. Fasting was a sad time, and they had nothing but rejoicing to do when Yahushua was with them, teaching them and showing them the ways of the kingdom of heaven. But then Yahushua tells us that when he leaves, and he's not with them, now the disciples that he has are going to be doing fasting, refraining from food, and praying to Yahweh more regularly. And we can see this happening actually in Acts chapter 6. Peter talks about, we don't need to be waiting on tables. We need to give ourselves to fasting and to prayer and to ministering. Okay, and in Acts chapter 6, verse 4, but we will give ourselves continually to prayer and to the ministry of the word. So they were out gathering souls, and they were out. They were praying. All right, they had special prayers, and of course, with prayer, high levels of prayer, fasting goes hand in hand with it, because fasting is what you do to afflict your soul, to rid yourself of a lot of physical desires, to rid yourself of being controlled by your flesh and allowing your spirit to take over and make the righteous decisions that Yahweh shows us we need to be making. So when you fast, understand the fact that fasting and prayer, one, go hand in hand. Number two, eating and drinking do not necessarily have to be, eating and drinking can be totally moved out of the equation for fasting, or you can just move drinking out of the equation. I'm only going to drink water during the daylight hours, or I'm only going to drink water during the day. I'm only going to drink water all day for 24 hours. Or I'm only going to drink 1 cup of water a day. Or I'm going to drink 1 liter of water a day. I'm not going to drink a whole bunch every day. All right? So that's the thing that we see about fasting. There's different things of eating and different levels of drinking. Now, a total fast is no food or no water, no pleasures, okay? No jovial, no unnecessary activities during the time of your fasting. And that's one of the higher levels of fasting that gets the Most High's attention, all right? But the point is that when Yahushua was with his disciples, they didn't fast. When he left them, he tells them, hey, when I leave, I'm going to expect you all to be doing some fasting. So we as disciples of Yahushua have to make sure that we're doing levels of fasting also. And that's what we're trying to make sure that we're in compliance with the example that he taught the disciples. Okay? Now let's go into Luke chapter 18, verse 11 and 12. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank thee that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, and even as this publican. I fast twice in the week. I give tithes of all that I possess. So here we learn a few things. We learn that it was customary for people to fast 2 times a week. When you read the history, the Israelites in general would fast on the 2nd day and on the 5th day of the week. Now, after Yahushua's crucifixion, the disciples decided that they were not going to fast as the hypocrites, which are people that fasted for show, that they were going to fast on the 3rd day and on the 6th day of the week, which is so-called Tuesday afternoon now, and so-called Tuesday, and then so-called Friday. Now remember, the fasting back then was more of a fast where they were fasting fully during the daylight hours, and when nighttime would come, they would fast. And this kind of explains the enigma of how did Judith fast every day except for the new moon and except for the Sabbath? Well, she didn't fast from total food. She fasted from food during the day. And then at nighttime, she would maybe have like a meal and go to sleep and wake up and go right back to fasting again. Okay? So this Pharisee says that I'm not like other men. So he goes to the Most High bragging about how he fasts and he does this and building up his resume to Yahweh. But Yahweh doesn't want us to build ourselves up when he comes to him. We want to bring ourselves down and humble ourselves. Now, what did the publican say? Publicans were the people that the Romans had set up to take money from the people as taxes, and they were taking money from the people more than what the Romans required, putting some money in their pocket and giving the rest to the Romans. So the publican, he went to Yahweh in prayer and said, Yahweh, have mercy on me, a sinner. Simple concept. I'm nothing. I'm a sinner. I can't do anything without your mercy. I need your mercy. I know I've done wrong. I know I've sinned, but please have mercy on me. So now we see that when we fast, that we can fast on, as followers of Hamashiach, we can fast on Tuesday during the day, light hours, and then on Friday during the day, light hours also. That was historically what our people did. Or you can fast from total food. There was a total fast from all food and drink on Tuesday during the day when it was light outside, and on Friday during the day when it was light outside. And of course, as the sun started to go down, they would begin to eat again on Fridays because they did observe the Shabbat as a holy time period. The first century believers of Hamashiach. So they were still following the traditions that they were taught by the Messiah. He taught them, when I leave, you're going to fast. So they said, well, when are we going to fast? Well, we fast at the same time that the disciples of the Pharisees and the Sadducees and of the, that's going to be different. Now, I also want to point out that the Pharisee and the publican were from two different elements of society, but they both were worshiping at the same place. So everybody was welcome there, but there was a large number of differences between different elements of society. Okay, so now here we learn that the tights they were doing, fasting twice a week they were doing, and they were also exalting themselves. So when we fast, we want to make sure we bring ourselves low. We don't want to brag to people about how often we fast and things of that nature. All right, and we want to give tithes in a righteous way. So we can't do it now because the tithes in a righteous way was the vegetables and the herbs and seeds and things of that nature, and food and livestock that we gave to the priest, and we gave to the Levites, and we gave to the poor that lived among us. All right, so we can't do that now. So when we fast, we want to make sure that we're humbling, and we can fast 2 times a week, on Tuesday and Friday during the daylight hours. If you want to, from all food and drink, if you want to do the research on that, go ahead and do it. Now also, let's go into Tobit chapter 12, verse 8. All right, it says prayer is good with fasting and alms and righteousness. A little with righteousness is better than much with unrighteousness. It is better to give alms than to lay up gold. So what this means is that it's good for you to pray. And prayer is definitely good when it's put together with fasting. And then when you put prayer with giving alms, that's good. And when you put prayer with righteousness, actually walking in obedience to the word, that's good. And all three of those together is beautiful in the eyes of the Most High. Shalom, 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 Mina. So that's definitely righteous in the eyes of the Most High. So you have to fast more. You have to read and study and listen to what we're teaching about fasting, so you can be in the right mindset and the right spiritual frame to get understanding of the subject, and then to appeal to Yahweh. Okay? So it says that prayer is good with fasting, alms, and righteousness. A little bit of fasting with obedience and with righteousness and doing good is better than all of the fasting that Pharisee was doing 2 times a week. It didn't mean anything. But the little bit of fasting that you may do, you may fast for 4 hours a day, or you may fast for 8 hours a day. That little bit of fasting that you do from no food, no drink, or even a little bit of water is accepted by the Most High if your intentions and if your actions are upright and honorable in the eyes of Yahweh. Next thing we want to cover is about the demons and spiritual powers doing things in the spiritual realm with a treasure of fasting, a treasure of wisdom, a treasure of virtue built up. All right, Mark chapter 9, okay, verses 17, 18, 28, and 29. And one of the multitude answered and said, Master, I have brought unto thee my son, which has a dumb spirit. So the little boy, or the son rather, couldn't talk, and brought him to Yahushua, which was and is our master. So the boy couldn't talk. Okay? Verse 18. And wheresoever he taketh him, he teareth him, and he foameth, and gnasheth with his teeth, and pineth away. So a little boy has some physical expressions of a demonic possession, hurting the child, hurting the boy. Now, this is what happened. And I spake to thy disciples that they should cast him out, and they could not. So the disciples of Yahushua could not cast out the demons that was in that boy. Why? And when he was come into the house, so Yahushua went to where the little boy, where the lady's son lived there. His disciples asked him privately. I'm sorry, I'll take that back. I made a mistake. And when he was come into the house, his disciples asked him privately, why could we not cast him out? They said, well, why couldn't we get the demon out of the boy? Verse 28. And he said unto them, this kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. Which means what? You need to have a reserve of fasting, of prayers you send up to the Most High. So now when it's time to use that reserve, you can cast out a demon from somebody. You can heal a person's body through the spirit of Yahweh, by whom all things happen. In the name of his son, Yahweh Shah Mashiach, who is the head of all things. You see? So he's telling his disciples, you all haven't been fasting and praying enough. You all haven't been storing up your treasures enough in order to pray and have it be effective. So when you pray and when you do works of wisdom, your wisdom increases, your faith increases, your holiness increases, because now you're more set apart. And now you can operate in the spirit of Yahweh and do things that he has appointed you to do. And your spirit is ready. You have virtue built up in your spirit. Okay? Now a few more verses. Ecclesiastes chapter 18, verse 30 and 31. Go not after thy lust, but refrain thyself from thine appetites. So don't go after your lust, meaning don't always give yourself the things that you desire. But refrain thyself from thine appetites. Which means what? Which means appetite, oh, I got a big appetite. I got a big space that needs to be filled. So wisdom is saying, don't fill your appetite. Don't always give yourself what it desires. You want a Snickers? Don't get a Snickers. You want to stay up and watch this movie? Don't stay up and watch this movie. Go to bed. You want to just scroll and just web surf? Don't web surf. Don't go through cyberspace. Rest your body. All right. You want to just sit back and you want to just sit back and read a fiction book? Open up your Bible and read a truth book, nonfiction. You see? So don't give yourself its appetite. Now, this is talking about the carnal appetites. This ain't talking about the spiritual appetites. The carnal things that your body desires and that your body has an appetite for. Your body wants to consume. The Bible is saying, wisdom is saying, don't always give those things. Go not after thy lust. Meaning don't chase, don't pursue, don't track down things that you desire. There's nothing wrong with desiring something righteously that you can have, but you can't always give yourself the things that you want. And wisdom is going to tell us why. Verse 31. If thou givest thy soul the desires that please her, she will make thee a laughing stock in thine to thine enemies that malign thee, that hate you, that want bad to happen to you, that do bad unto you. So if you go after the things that you want and you give your soul the things that she desires, you don't fast, you don't refrain, you don't keep your spirit in check, you don't discipline yourself, what happens? Satan is going to get pleased. Satan and his minions and other men, quite possibly, will be laughing at you because you talk this game about Yahweh and the Bible, but then you doing the same thing we do. The only thing is you do something different on Saturday maybe. You dress like us, you eat like us, you do the things that we do. You don't have no control over your spirit when it comes to voluntarily withdrawing yourself from your desires. And that's where the fasting comes in. Going half a day or a whole day with no food. Going half of a day or a whole day just drinking water. Going half of a day or a whole day not looking at TV, not looking at movies, not up and down your timeline, not going and watching sports games and things of that nature. Have discipline, have check in your spirit. That way, Yahweh will be pleased with you and Satan will be mad with you. When you give yourself to your desires and your appetite and your lust, Satan likes that. Because you're not controlling the temple of God Almighty. Your body is the temple. So if your body is the temple, what are you putting into your temple? What are you consuming? How often do you clean out your temple? You have to purge your spirit, purge your body sometimes. And that pleases Yahweh. Okay? Now, we have two more. Luke 9, verse 23 to 24. And he said to them all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross daily, and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. But whosoever will lose his life, for my sake, the same shall save it. So when you lose your life, when you take away something that you have put into your existence, that you can do without, that you can put to the side, you're going to gain. So the more you deny yourself, the more you gain in the spiritual world. The more life you put into the spiritual world. The more you're storing up your treasure in heaven. And when you need that treasure to help your brother, to help your sister, it's there for you. Because you're not storing up treasure only for yourself. You're storing up treasure for those that will need you. This is the lesson we see from the disciples when they couldn't cast out the demons. Because they didn't have an account built up. They didn't have a balance that was big enough to cast that to cast that check. They could write the check. They tried, they prayed, but the check was bouncing. It wasn't being cashed. They didn't have enough money in their account. So Yahushua tells you, how do you get money in your account to do things on a spiritual level, on a higher spiritual level? Fasting and praying, denying yourself, taking up your cross and following Yahushua. How do you follow Yahushua? By walking in the Proverbs, walking in wisdom, afflicting your soul, afflicting your spirit. And fasting is a part of having a relationship with Chakma wisdom, which is our sister. Wisdom is our sister, and understanding is our kinswoman. So we have a relationship with wisdom, and she shows us that we have to deny ourselves. We have to put ourselves last. This is what it means when it says, don't go after your appetites. Don't go after your lusts. Don't go after the things that you desire. Why? Because when you go after those things in carnal, your spirit gets weaker. And as your spirit gets more weaker, your salvation is more in jeopardy. Why? Because you're not walking in the spirit. You're following after the flesh. And when you walk in the spirit, you can get built up in the fruits of the spirit. When you walk in the flesh and you follow after the flesh, and you give your flesh what she desires, then guess what? You're going to manifest the works of the flesh. Plain and simple. So the more you fast, the more you're in the Proverbs, The more you study the word, the more you live the word, the more you breathe the word, the more you eat the word, the stronger your spirit becomes, the more spiritual you become, the more holy you become to Yahweh, the more faith you have, and the more virtue you save up. Last verse. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6, verse 12 and 17. Wisdom is glorious and never fadeth away. Yea, she is easily seen of them that love her, and found of such as seek her. You have to seek wisdom as a treasure. You will find her if you seek her. For the very true beginning of her is the desire of discipline. The very true beginning of her is the desire of discipline. And the care of discipline is love. So the very true beginning of discipline, the very true beginning of wisdom, Salaklia, the very true beginning of wisdom is the desire of discipline. You see that? So now we have a desire of discipline, a want of discipline, as opposed to what? A want of your own desires, a want of your own appetite, a want of something carnal and physical. You want discipline. See, contrast that with Ecclesiasticus 18 and 31. Ecclesiasticus 18:31 says, if thou givest thy soul the desires that please her, she will make thee a laughing stock. But then in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 6, verse 17, it says the very true beginning of her is the desire of discipline. So you have to desire discipline, which is higher spiritual level of control over your mind, over your hands, over your thoughts. You don't bounce negative thoughts in your head, over control of what you say with your mouth. And when you do that, then wisdom will come unto you, because doing that is the beginning of discipline. Doing that is what allows wisdom to have a relationship with you. So you have to come with the discipline. And that's what Yahweh Shai mean when he said, if you seek to lose your life, discipline yourself in the spirit of Yahweh, you will gain life, because wisdom is a tree of life. So when he says you lose your life, he don't mean, just stop living. He means lose your own desires, lose your own pleasure, and live to help and to serve your brothers and your sisters. Live and serve to help other people righteously in the name of Yahweh Shai. And when you do that, he will reward you and he will bless you. And this is how we walk in wisdom. And this is how we walk in holiness. And this is how we walk in faith and increase our faith. So as we go into different fasts, look at this video. Record. I'm sorry. Look at the video and write down the scriptures in the video. Study the scriptures in the video. And I have other prayers that you can say also that go along with this video. Maybe I'll put the link inside the description here. I don't know. This was meant to be a private video for a few select people, but I didn't change the settings before it started to record live, so that's how everybody is seeing it now. All right, so I'm going to share this with the people I was supposed to share it with, and do your fasting. Hypocrites, sanctify yourselves. Cleanse your spirit, cleanse your mind, cleanse your body, cleanse your heart. Most High will purge you clean if you want him to do that. He will help you. And when I'm sitting there, and I don't know why I keep putting my, I just feel like I should say this, my tongue, because I don't do that when I'm talking to somebody. Maybe because I'm looking at myself on the camera right here, I keep moving my tongue on the side of my mouth, so forgive me for that. There's nothing wrong with me. Just maybe I'm nervous talking in front of the camera or whatever. But anyway, These are a few scriptures that you can go to and you can read. All right, now I'll list them for you again so you can write them down. Matthew chapter 6, verse 16 and 17. 2 Maccabees chapter 13, verse 12. Ecclesiasticus Sirach in the Apocrypha, chapter 34, verse 25 and 26. Luke chapter 5, verse 33 and 35. Verse 33 through 35. Luke chapter 18, verse 11 through 12. Tobit chapter 12, verse 8. Mark chapter 9, verse 17. Mark chapter 9, verse 18. Verse 28 and verse 29. Ecclesiasticus Sirach in the Apocrypha, chapter 18, verse 30 through 31. Luke chapter 9, verse 23 through 24. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6, verses 12 and 17. All right, so may Yahweh be with you in the name of Yahweh Shai. Shema Yasha Allah, Yahweh Allahayana wa Yahweh Akkad, wa Hapta at Yahweh Allahayaka, Bakal Lababka, wa Bakal Napashka, wa Bakal Ma'adka. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh, our power, Yahweh is one, and you shall love Yahweh, your power, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. On Yahweh Lakam, I love you all. In the name of Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, Shalom Lakam, love you. Hope this helps you. Read it, listen to it, read the scriptures, review it, and apply it. You won't regret it. You'll be very happy. And most of all, Yahweh will be pleased and happy with the level of faith, the level of holiness, the level of virtue, the level of wisdom that you're rising to by his power. In the name of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. All right? Shalom Alaikum. I love you all.